David Weigel, 59 John Street, New York, New York. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. I'm directing this testimony, whistleblower testimony, directly to Michael Horowitz, Inspector General of the Department of Justice, with a CC to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy from the Department of Government Efficiency. Yes, just like the last 18 months, I'm continuing to provide whistleblower testimony about an outrageous fraud occurring in our government everywhere, in the family courts, in multiple locations around this country, is engaged in designer child trafficking. The exploitation and abuse of children for profit. Period. That's what it is. I'm going to attempt to summarize what the problem is, where we are in my case and what I've been trying to do, and then a potential solution as an addendum to what I put out as a solution earlier this year with the AI analysis of the family courts. I found a way to structurally use my expertise, my experience, to offer some solution that ties all of this together. Because the judge is inches away, days away from gaveling down and completing the scam that I have predicted every next step that they have taken. And all I've done is piss them off. How dare I say boo about their right to rape and pillage at will. Mr. Horowitz, I refuse to believe that you're ignorant to this, but let me just summarize what the problem is. The problem is judges in New York and Connecticut are sentencing non-criminals to prison, places like Rikers Island, for a civil matter. Something that was outlawed 200 years ago. This scam has to stop. And I'm going to tell you exactly, through my experience and local news reports, exactly where and why this exists to such an epidemic. On my last piece,
he took my dad out of my life for 5 years. You too.
Yep.
Putting forth the actual confession from my ex and highlighting that we have a smoking gun. Daniel B. Notice had 75% of his cases in front of 2 judges. That's statistically impossible without fraud. Smoking gun. What you never have in these cases, you have in my case. With the 0.2% of transparency that's allowed. Who's the plaintiff? Who's the defendant? Who's the judge? What was the date it started? What's the case number? With just that information, we found definitive proof, mathematically proven, of fraud. So my friend Alex asks a silly question. It's a brilliant question. He's from Portugal. He doesn't know our laws. Dave, how is this guy Daniel Notice still a practicing attorney? Why haven't they looked into all of his previous cases? How is this able to go on? Don't you have a Justice Department? Isn't there some regulation?
How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing great.
2 Mondays ago, Jon Stewart had on Sally Yates, former Deputy Attorney General of the Department of Justice. And a sweet pie of a woman. Yeah, they know who to choose to put in these places. And this one of our top minds in the Justice Department didn't know if the people who were in the office to the left and right of her were Republican or Democrat. This is our country's top detective. She answered a question we've all been asking for so long. Whose job is it? Whose job is it to investigate fraud and misconduct in the criminal justice system? And she answered outright, directly.
If you think something is really out of bounds, you can raise it to what they call the Inspector General within the Department of Justice. If you're being told,
Who's that?
yeah, Michael Horowitz is his name.
No, I was a rhetorical question, but I mean, what's the role of the Inspector General?
The Inspector General looks at fraud and abuse and misconduct within the Department of Justice.
His name is Michael Horowitz. He's the Inspector General. And it's his job to specifically investigate fraud and misconduct in the justice system. So I go directly to Google, put it in, go to his site, and right there, first page, submit a complaint. And then the game. See, I've learned also through behavioral economics study that when somebody's trying to purport a crime, they throw it in as the third thing on the list. All right? So the first thing is we generally do not investigate 911 emergencies. Duh. Number two is usually a DEI crap. I don't even know what that was, EEO or whatever. But number three, we do not investigate federal, state, or local judges. Whose job is it? Well, if the former deputy director of the Department of Justice says it's Michael Horowitz's job, then, sir, I have no choice but to come directly to you. And why am I doing it here? Why do I have to do it here? Well, I invite you to take a look into the last 13 years of my life. I invite you to take a look at just the testimony I've put up over the last 18 months. I invite you to do your fucking job. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened, because it says right there, I put into Google, who investigates dirty judges? Oh, a Judicial Investigative Committee. Yes, I know, the Judicial Misconduct Board. Been there, done that. Okay, so yeah, in January, I went to their very robust site. Had a box this big so that as soon as you typed in more than 4 sentences, you couldn't see what you wrote above. That's the platform to report the complexity of a nationwide racketeering scam. And then they give you not one, but 4 whole documents that you can upload. And for that, I get back. Dear Mr. Weigel, State Commission on Judicial Conduct has reviewed your letter of complaint dated January 3rd, 2024. Commission has asked me to advise you that it's dismissed the complaint. You don't say. But here tells everything. Upon careful consideration, I didn't get a single call. No one in the case got a single call, not a single document other than the 4 transcripts, which is manufactured. They manufacture exactly what they say on the transcripts. It's part of the 2% transparency scam. But based on this careful consideration, the Commission has concluded that there was insufficient indication of judicial misconduct. Does everybody agree with that? Insufficient indication, not even worthy of being investigated. There you have it, Alex. Everything that I've done, everything that you know, everything that everybody else knows, it's just not sufficient. Because here it tells everything. Okay, the Commission is not a court of law and does not have the authority to investigate, which means you're not a regulator. So there's no regulator. Why is this happening in all these locations around? Because there's no regulator. It is a town without a police force, as I first reported a year ago in front of the federal court steps. We have the Wild West in the family courts. And it's absolutely disgusting. Further, they go on to say, we don't have the power to investigate. And these rulings in these cases, judges, by law, have broad discretion in such matters. So judges are allowed to commit felonies, as Tandra Dawson has done in my case, to my children. And yes, for anyone just thinking that I'm doing this to help my particular case, believe it or not, telling a judge that you still have to see, who has the ability to put you into Rikers and who's done it before, that she's the Bill Cosby of law, not to hurl out just some low, dig against her. No, these are two individuals that have risen to a level of such trust in this society. And when people learn who they really are, they're not just a little bad. They're monsters that are raping and pillaging. Maybe differently, but it's still raping and pillaging. Mr. Horowitz, this is going on under your watch. I said in my last piece, our biggest enemies would never be as brilliant to come up with a plan to destroy America. Watch it implode from the inside. Destroy the American family. A little bit every day, a little bit every year. Who do we think is going to be running the country in 20, 30 years? But the broken, divorced children of Manhattan, LA, Greenwich, Connecticut. This is not pie in the sky stuff, okay? And because I just do not like to complain without offering a solution, that's why I'm also CCing Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. They are charged, it is their now public duty to cut the budget. Well, I'm gonna help, okay? I've got 15,000 hours of study, plus my professional expertise to offer this suggestion, okay? I've got a 4-part plan that is centered around inverting this structure, inverting the motivation and the fear techniques, okay? Number one, you got to cut off the money. In 2022, the federal government spent $3.6 billion reimbursing states for their collection efforts, re the Deadbeat Fathers Punishment Act. Yes, the act that brings back a law outlawed 200 years ago and generally define what is a developed society versus a banana republic. No one should go to jail for a money dispute. Going to Rikers Island is being subject to torture. When you have to worry and seriously think about what are you going to do when they come to gang rape you, no human should have to ponder that unless it's the actual child traffickers themselves. So number one, stroke of the pen. This is your power, Vivek. Change the law. No more. No more reimbursements to the states. Boom, $3.5 billion back in the federal government's pocket. But what's the multiplier effect? How much more good would have I been able to do over this last 13 years for other people? People say, who are you, Weigel? Who are you to come up with any kind of plan and be audacious to just put yourself out there? Well, number one, I don't think we should be turning around anyone willing to fight this fight, okay? I don't know that many people that are willing to risk Rikers Island for something that they believe in. Now, it's not just my case, okay? It's not just my ass. I can't unsee what I've seen. I can't unknow what I know. Very simply, change the law. No more Title IX. $3.5 billion back in the federal government. And then, Mr. Musk, what's the multiplier effect of that? The people being targeted are the country's best and brightest. People with money, people have resources to put to work in the economy. The 1 + 1 = 5. Right now we've got 1 + 1 = -10. Death and destruction. What's the multiplier effect of a piece of shit Daniel Notes buying another Ferrari? None. What's the multiplier effect on positive fundamentals, on caring for our children? So number one, get rid of the money supply. All right, now we got to invert the fear. Instead of Dave Weigel fearing, Rikers Island. Should be Daniel B. Notes, fearing Rikers Island. One is not a criminal. The other one has a sea of broken families and children behind him that he raped and pillaged. I don't know how many different ways. There's no way you can look into any of his behavior and see that this man has followed the law. He cannot. He physically cannot not lie. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. But he's not the problem. The problem is the structural system that allows him not only to be alive, but thrive. All right? The Tundra Dawsons that allow 200 lies, that allow such outlandish things, saying that, I don't know if the police are looking for David Weigel right now. She allowed that in her court. Why? Follow the money, Mr. Horowitz. Follow the money. There's no more somebody else's job. It's you. And I'm going to ask you to the day they put me in a box for this piece to be sent to you, every possible way it can possibly be sent, or whoever's in your position, because somebody has to wrestle back America from these heathens before it's gone. Once we have the money supply cut off, then we change the judicial discretion. Family court judges cannot operate with impunity. Consolidate the regulation. Have judges on the family court side be identically regulated as on the criminal side. All right, gentlemen, went to a judge and said, Judge, arrest me. At least when I'm a criminal, I'll be able to have rights again. Michael Volpe wrote a piece about a gentleman in Maryland. He was arrested 28 times, 28 dismissals. I said, who are the cops arresting this guy the 15th time, the 16th, 17th, the judges, 20? Get your head around that. 28 arrests, 28 dismissals. How does that happen? Money. People are getting paid 66 cents on the dollar to do it. You have the ability and the obligation to do this. Problem is not actual deadbeat fathers. There's no way you look into this and you actually see that. You take away the judicial discretion. You consolidate the regulation. Don't have to hire new people. Nope, just suck them all together. No longer are the family court judges allowed to operate with impunity. No longer are they allowed to commit felonies and have it called their discretion. No longer can they sit there and decide on my divorce without ever doing financial discovery. Yes, in 12 3/4 years, not a single financial document has been reviewed in my case. The judge is about to gavel down that I owe my attacker, Daniel B. Notes, $600,000, doesn't matter. It's a front. It's there to arrest me, to psychologically abuse me, to make me have to think about what would I do to not be raped. I don't know how I can make this more vehement. But I've got a couple of other structures to close the loop on this. After you change the law of Title IX, after you repeal judicial discretion in the family courts, now you hire a couple of people. A czar at the state level, a children's best interest czar, who has the authority and obligation to jail people like Daniel B. Notes when there's proven evidence of child trafficking and child abuse. And it's there. You'll change the game, change the structure, the motivational structure. And who am I to even put this forth? I'm a nobody. Yes, I'm a nobody. But I might be the best nobody to be able to be the lead whistleblower on this particular scam. Because a couple of things. Number one, I'm a certified financial planner. It's one of the highest designations there are in the financial market, in the financial world. But more importantly, 1/6 of it is ethics, which is regulated. It is enforced, unlike attorneys who have no enforcement and basically engage in a business model of billing fraud. Yes, probably 90% of the law firms, aside from corporate, which is a completely different world, certainly the family law, their business model, which I assess for a living, is billing fraud. Everything else is theatrics. Look into it and tell me I'm a liar. Number 2 is I'm a certified portfolio manager from Columbia University's Graduate School of Financial Engineering. Took salutatorian of my graduating class. Generally, you can't be an idiot to do that. All right, but more importantly, I've put my theses to test in the real world. 12 years ago, I developed a fixed income strategy using alternative structured investments, structured bonds that I build and competitively bid across the street to 16 banks for my clients. I went completely the opposite way of the entire industry. And 12 years later, firmly in the top 1% of all fixed income portfolios on the planet. Over 3,000, over 22 subcategories, top 1%, over 12 years. That's the universe telling me I'm not crazy. And maybe I know a thing or two. But more importantly, is that I've already taken the worst of it. They've already blown through my life savings. They already stole my children, already arrested me 5 times, 7 seizures, Rikers Island, and I'm still standing. That's why. That's why I'm a valuable whistleblower for this cause. And, you know, I've got talking about 10 people that want me to succeed so bad in this, but are afraid out of their skin to join me. That's why. That's why I should be suitable for this. Bring me in. Investigate this case, Michael Horowitz. And I'm going to leave this on one final message directly to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Gentlemen, if you want to see an indicator of substantiation of what I'm talking about, 2 things you can do. Take one day, go into the courts in New York, sit there for most of the day, and see how much time is spent coordinating calendars. Mr. Jones, can you do the 13th? Oh no, I got my daughter's recital then. What about the Are you fucking kidding? It's called Google Calendar. You've just cut 20% of the budget right there. Literally, it's that retarded. And Mr. Ramaswamy, if you want to understand the multiplier effect of what this damage in the family courts is doing, I invite you to go into one of the many, many, many teen detention centers, rehabilitation centers, trauma centers. Sit there and listen to the broken souls in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s talking about the trauma of where it all started. It's not hokey science to say abusing children this way has lifelong effects. The only reason my kids are somewhat undamaged is because of everything that I've done to make sure that they knew how loved they are. A lot of people don't have the wherewithal to be able to call on a film crew, still stand here 13 years later, be able to put words together, although I'm not the best, but clearly it's a lot of people that can't do what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do. That's why I'm doing it. No matter what happens in my case, every single day, I walk past these parks, seeing the kids on playgrounds, and sometimes I just start crying right there on the street. because I see their smiles go to terror because of people like Daniel Notes and Tondra Dawson. They belong behind bars, and I'm not going to stop until they are. Thank you.